Coach Massi here from Massi-Machado Strength and Conditioning with another episode of Move Your Feet. This one should probably more so be called Control Your Body in Space or Proprioception or Spatial Orientation, but we're still calling it Move Your Feet, which is a concept of how you build your protocols and progressions to help your athletes and client manage their anatomical components with or without resistance at life or game speed performance, and really well. So today we're going to look at what we did last time, which was actually a moving RDL with a hang finish. We're going to look at a couple of activations that we did to get us ready and prepared for the movement, but we're also going to talk about this force jump. In the emails I got, it was brought to my attention that a couple episodes ago I mentioned something called the force jump, and it really is for jumping athletes to manage their body in space. It's for spatial orientation. It helps them to develop good landing and jumping patterns and quickness with efficacy in jumping and landing. So once again, I'll bring Maddie in, and Maddie's going to help us through again. And Matt, I'm going to have to ask you to take your shoes off again. So I hope you have clean feet. Nice. He doesn't talk much, but he's a good-looking kid. So he's going to put that band on today, superior patella, above the kneecap. And we're going to go into a couple of simple banded movement preps, and there are more because we're reaching and we're extending on these jumps, or I should say because we are getting into extension on the jumps. There are other things we do, but for time's sake today we're just going to address a few that we kind of looked at in the last episode. So the first thing he's going to do, simple band squats. Maddie, hit it. All he's going to be doing here is he's going to try to make sure his patellas are tracking. He's going to get the concept of getting those hips involved and hitting those glutes at the top without locking his knees out. He wants to have good flexion, so we're going to unlock those knees when we finish in trying to prepare for this movement. And this is going to be something we're going to look at our athletes on. When we train these force jumps or any type of jumping movements, like I said, I don't know of a lot of people that get hurt while they're hanging in the air unless somebody comes along and smashes them. People get hurt when they're landing, okay, or when there's impact or when there's contact. So we're going to look at this. So Maddie, let's keep a degree of flexion in there as we move through this. And he's just going to make sure he does not lock his knees out, for lack of a better word. Perfect. Now he's going to go through what's called the squat reach. In the squat reach, we're going to also build that concept of when he's squat reaching, that we jump with heel ball toe, we land toe ball heel. And we're going to look for any quivers or quakes, anything that looks like a kinetic interruption. So go ahead, Maddie. And back down. A little creaky, a little cracky, but he's got the movement down. Good. He's got a tall chest. Looks like he's commanding that movement really well. So as you'll notice here, we have a box. And this box is going to help us determine his ability to maintain his space, or his body in space. It helps with spatial orientation. We do have some very high-level progressions that involve turning in space and landing, but what you have here is, this is painter's tape. It's like $3 or $4. And we put down our box. There's a 24-inch square box, and these lines, from line to line, from the outsides of the box along this box matrix, is 6 inches. So you at least have some sort of objective measurement here to refer to when you're trying to perform these force jumps. And once again, we're going to work this with the Tsunami barbell, flexible barbell. This is one of their standard grip barbells. It's not a fat grip. They also do make them in fat grip. But we like the Tsunami barbell because of the degree of inter and intramuscular coordination you can develop, the oscillation in amplitude, and also it's a biomechanical reactivity type feedback. It's the surface medium, or I should say, you don't have to change surface medium to get that biomechanical reactivity like normally we'd have to put somebody on a trampoline, unstable surface, a squishy type surface. So this biomechanical reactivity that's offered from this barbell during these force jumps tends to lend to really good inter and intramuscular coordination, and also helps him to control his body in space over time. When you first start these type of force jumps, things can be ugly, because Maddie's going to pick that bar up into the hang position, and before he starts to jump, he's going to make sure he understands the concept of driving that bar down. So you're going to have him first stand, Maddie, and you're going to have him basically show you that he can pinch his traps up and then drive the bar down. Once I know he's driving that bar down, I'll tell him to flex his knees, flex your knees, and then do your small jumps. force jumps. And rest. And as you can see, Matty's strong, powerful kid, he's starting to drift further and further back. So if I told him to take a little bit of flexion out of your knees and do that again and jump. Better. As you can see, he maintains his position a little bit better. Now, Matty, walk up to the very front of that box. You can now also teach the athlete to regress and progress, and not to confuse progression or regression with a system of progressing a movement or regressing a movement. Basically, we're talking about taking him backwards and forwards. So, Matty, let's force it and go. And you can basically see how much ground he's going to cover and stop. What I'm also looking at here is, when I look at him, I should say along his frontal or through the sagittal, I'm noticing that he's not exactly toe-toe in some of his movements. So I'm going to want to point that out to him and tell him, Matty, look, while you're doing this progression, while you're doing these jumps, you can peer down at your toes, because you should be able to just glance down and make sure that you have a positive base. And we'll get him back in the center of the box now. And let's do a stationary jump, and let's try to maintain your toes on there. Force that bar and go. And 3 more. And 2 more. And 1 more. Boom. Good. So this is a pretty nifty little drill to help your jumping athletes, or any athletes at all, cycle some power, work on their landings, work on how they kinetically link things together for jumping, but also to manage their body in space. So this will give you a good shot, as far as this tape is concerned, looking along his frontal plane. It'll give you an idea of how much veering there is. And what we like to do is, we like to, when we're working with jumping athletes, set up several of these box matrix stations, which cost probably 50 cents worth of tape. You can put it down, you can take it up. It's not fancy, it doesn't cost much, it gets the job done. You could have a row full of athletes or clients, and you could be looking down the line and figuring out who's doing what correctly, incorrectly, and it just gives you some information to work with. Listen, we'd love to hear from you guys in emails. Give us a call. We're happy to spend some time with you. In the meantime, both this and many other speed, power, stability, dynamic capacity, strength, function, protocols are going to be discussed at my upcoming one-day seminar, Perform Better, at the Functional Training Institute. We're going to try to do that in 2019. It's called Developing the Modern Athlete and Client. I hope you can join me. Until next time, this is Coach Massey reminding you to move your feet.